What if I told you that the strategy that got you to 10,000 euros is completely wrong once you have 100,000 euros or more, and that the approach that works brilliantly to get you to 100,000 euros could actually prevent you from ever reaching your first million? This isn't some get-rich-quick nonsense. This is based on decades of financial data that completely changed how I think about building wealth. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your financial strategy needs to evolve as your wealth grows, why we as Europeans actually have a massive advantage in this respect that most people don't realize, and most importantly, which level you're at right now and what you should focus on next. If you're new here, my name is Angelo Colombo and I've been investing for over 8 years together with my wife, with the goal of being able to retire early one day if we so wish, something we may be able to in a few years if things go well. What we'll cover today comes from one of the best and most practical wealth building books I've read in a long time, The Wealth Ladder by Nick Maggiulli. His 6 wealth level framework has completely changed how I think about our financial journey, especially the 0.01% and 1% rules that determine how much we can spend and which opportunities are worth pursuing. So let's start by introducing the 6 wealth levels and by highlighting something that might sound controversial. Most financial advice is useless because it treats everyone the same, no matter where they are in their investment journey. It's like giving the same gym routine to a first-time lifter and an Olympic athlete. Sure, it may be solid advice in general, but it may not be helpful at their current stage. In fact, it could even slow down their progress. Getting back to the wealth ladder, each step you move up gives you a new type of financial freedom, but also requires a different strategy to move on to the next level. Here are the 6 levels of wealth according to Nick Maggiulli, which I changed from US dollars to euros to make them more relevant for us. Level 1, less than 10,000 euros, paycheck to paycheck. Level 2, 10,000 to 100,000 euros, grocery freedom. Level 3, 100,000 euros to 1 million, restaurant freedom. Level 4, 1 million to 10 million, travel freedom. Level 5, 10 million to 100 million, house freedom. Level 6, 100 million plus, impact freedom. Now before you think, oh great, another American framework with unreachable numbers for us in Europe, stick with me, because we as Europeans actually have a massive advantage here that even the author acknowledged in a recent interview, which we'll get to later. If you were wondering what these freedoms actually mean, this is where the 0.01% rule comes in. The rule is beautifully simple. You can easily spend an additional 0.01% of your liquid net worth each day without it negatively affecting your wealth level on average, assuming you're still earning enough money to cover your basic monthly living expenses. That's because the average long-term return for an investment, like a well-diversified ETF, has been quite a bit higher at around 8% per year on average historically, and 0.01% per day would mean you would only be withdrawing a conservative 3.65% per year, even if you were to do it every single day. This rule is meant to give you more freedom when making spending decisions as your net worth grows over the years. Let's say you have a net worth of 20,000 euros and you're at the grocery store deciding between 3 euro eggs and 5 euro eggs, laid by the highest quality chickens that apparently live better lives than most people. Since 20,000 euros puts you in level 2, grocery freedom, and 2 euros is only 0.01% of your net worth, you can buy the fancy eggs without worrying about the price difference that day, as this decision will barely impact your net worth. Now imagine you only had 200 euros to your name. In that case, spending an extra 2 euros on eggs would be way out of proportion, as it would impact your wealth by as much as 1%. You're at 300,000 euros, congratulations, you're nicely positioned in level 3, restaurant freedom, as Nick likes to call it. You can easily spend an extra 30 euros on dinner, for example, without it negatively affecting your finances, as that is your 0.01%. Pretty simple, right? I have to tell you, I really love this perspective. Okay, now let's explore each step on the wealth ladder in detail and discuss what's likely required in order to move to the next level. Starting with level 1, paycheck to paycheck, when you have less than 10,000 euros to your name. Here, your primary focus should be getting out of this level. This is not the time to optimize your portfolio allocation or to find the perfect ETF. This stage is about survival and building a safety net. Eliminate unnecessary costs and find extra ways to make money if you need to, so you can start building an emergency fund containing at least 3 months of living expenses. My wife and I like to keep 6 months in cash in a high-yield savings account, but then again, I'm self-employed. This will give you some much-needed financial breathing room and a solid foundation to build upon so that you're more relaxed in case of emergency. The last thing you want is to have to go into debt and take on a high interest rate loan because your car broke down or because you suddenly lost your job. Okay, you reached 10,000 euros or more, you are now in level 2, grocery freedom. This is where things start to get interesting. With a nest egg of 10,000 to 100,000 euros, you have reached grocery freedom and can start using the 0.01% rule. You now have enough money to take some risks, but learning useful skills that offer the possibility of higher paying work in the future should be your primary focus here. Don't get distracted by trying to optimize your investments just yet. Optimizing your earning potential in the long run is likely to be a much better time investment at this stage. According to Nick Maggiulli, you should find the intersection of what you're good at, what you're interested in, and what people will pay good money for. That's not to say that starting to invest into a well-diversified low-cost ETF is a bad idea here. Just make sure to keep this part as simple and time-efficient as possible. For example, via an automated recurring investment at the start of each month using interactive brokers, which is what I do. You can find my link down below if you'd like to support me. This brings us to level 3, restaurant freedom. With a liquid net worth ranging between 100,000 to 1 million euros, you're at this stage. Depending on where you are, you can now comfortably spend an extra 10 to 100 euros per day without thinking about it twice, which is why he calls it restaurant freedom. My wife and I are currently at the midpoint of level 3 ourselves. But here's the thing. We realized we were stuck in a level 1 mindset for way longer than necessary, obsessing over small expenses when our wealth level meant we could afford some flexibility. Once you hit 100,000 euros, something magical happens. Your investments can finally move the needle. For example, if you have 100,000 euros invested in a low-cost world ETF earning an average of 8% annually based on historical data, that's 8,000 euros per year in growth, just from your money working for you. At 300,000, that's 24,000 euros, more than the vast majority of people can save in an entire year. My wife and I have experienced this ourselves. As our portfolio grew over the years, also because we've been able to increase our income and thus contributions year after year, our ETF returns in absolute numbers have made more and more of an impact, growing our net worth as much as 75,000 euros last year alone. Here's the strategy in level 3. First, just keep buying income-producing assets like ETFs consistently. Just Keep Buying is actually the title of his previous bestseller. The great thing for us Europeans is that we can use tax-efficient accumulating ETFs that automatically reinvest dividends for this as well, an option that doesn't even exist in the US. Second, consider side hustles and additional income streams, but only as long as they don't distract you from a main income source. And third, don't overspend on housing, as that tends to be the biggest trap for people in level 3. Now, before we talk about one major advantage we have in Europe compared to the US, and the remaining 3 levels where the numbers start to feel way out of reach, there's another useful framework Nick mentions, the 1% rule. The 1% rule is about earning decisions, not spending. It's simple. Only pursue new income opportunities if they can increase your net worth by at least 1%. Otherwise, they may not be worth your time. For example, doing gig work or tutoring to earn an extra 100 euro makes sense. For someone lower on the wealth ladder with a net worth of 10,000 euros, as that's 1% of what they have. But these same jobs are unlikely to move the needle in level 3. So if your net worth is 200,000 euros, only consider a side hustle or career change if it's likely to add at least 1% or 2,000 euros to your wealth that year. It's all about opportunity cost. Your time becomes more valuable as your wealth grows, so the income opportunities you say yes to should grow proportionally. The 1% rule prevents you from getting distracted by small opportunities that feel productive but actually slow down your wealth building. It forces you to think bigger as you climb the ladder. But here's where it gets really interesting for us Europeans. As you get to the upper range of level 3, so 500,000 to 1 million euros, it's perfectly fine to ask yourself the following question. Do I have enough, or should I keep going? This is already mentioned in the book's introduction. This book is both a guide and a warning. It's about building wealth and knowing when enough is enough. Ultimately, you should climb the wealth ladder in a way that actually improves your life. And as it turns out, most European countries do have one major advantage compared to the US, according to Nick.
I actually think in a lot of Europe, you can actually be in like upper level 3 and be in the same sort of boat only because they have such a better social safety net.
Here he's comparing it to level 4, so 1 to 10 million in the US.
And, you know, like the healthcare, like I think if you actually look at the research, why do people acquire so much wealth? Why are they so worried? Healthcare, unknown healthcare. Imagine you get hit with a random disease and you're 60 years old, you're still 5 years away from Medicare. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for this thing? And it just costs so much money. And that's the thing that people worry about, especially in the US. You don't have to worry about that as much in Europe. I think the costs are not as crazy. So because of that, I think that's where you can be at a different wealth level and still have a very, very good life and not as stressed.
So before you get caught up in chasing level 4 or beyond, ask yourself, what would mid to upper level 3 wealth actually buy you in terms of freedom, peace of mind and lifestyle? For many of us in Europe, it might be enough already. For example, our own early retirement goal based on our current yearly expenses as a family of 3 is 780,000 euros. You don't have to climb further unless it truly aligns with your values. But if you do, here's what's next. Level 4, travel freedom. With a liquid net worth of 1 to 10 million euros, you can pretty much travel when and where you want without worrying about the cost. But here's where things get interesting once again. The strategy that got you to level 4 likely won't get you further. According to Maggiulli's research, this is actually the hardest level to escape from. Since traditional employment has its limits, even high-paying jobs. In fact, your investments are likely to generate more on average than your job at this stage. And based on the 1% rule, you now need opportunities worth at least 10,000 to 100,000 euros to move the needle. That's where level 5 comes in, house freedom. At 10 to 100 million, you can afford your dream home without it significantly impacting your finances. Getting here almost always requires business ownership or significant equity in successful companies. But as the book points out, this is also where the downsides of wealth start to appear. Increased stress, trust issues, and complex family dynamics around money. Finally, level 6, impact freedom at 100 million euros plus. At this point, money stops being about comfort or luxury. You already have more than you could ever personally spend. You now have enough wealth to make a significant impact on the world through either philanthropy or large-scale business ventures. Look, I am fully aware that the amounts we're talking about from level 4 to 6 are out of reach for the vast majority of people, myself included. But I still wanted to briefly mention those stages for anyone that's interested in how the game changes at those levels. So, what are the most important lessons from all of this? First, know which level you're at and focus on the right strategy for that level. Don't get distracted by advice meant for people much higher or lower on the ladder. Second, use the 0.01% rule for spending decisions and the 1% rule for earning decisions. These simple frameworks can save you from both obsessing over small expenses when you don't need to and wasting time on opportunities that won't move the needle. I found both of these especially helpful in my own life. Third, many European countries do have some advantages as well. Thanks to healthcare and social safety nets, you may be able to feel financially secure and feel like you have enough to enjoy a high standard of living at a lower wealth level compared to an American. And yes, I am fully aware we're paying a lot more in taxes in exchange. As I mentioned, our family's early retirement goal is 780,000 euros based on our current expenses and a 4% safe withdrawal rate, so upper level 3. Meanwhile, someone in the US might require significantly more and to be in level 4 for the same peace of mind. Lastly, remember that the goal shouldn't be to climb as high as possible, but to climb the ladder in a way that actually improves your life and the lives of those around you. Figure out your version of enough, where your money helps you live the life you want with the freedom and peace of mind you value most. Which level are you at right now and what's your goal? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into this framework, I highly recommend checking out the entire book either physically or on Audible, where I listened to it first, as I only touched the surface of it in this video. It's genuinely one of the best books on building wealth I've read the past few years, so you won't be disappointed. Please don't forget to gently tap the like button if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe if you haven't yet. You can find links to my favorite low-cost brokers in Europe to buy ETFs down below, which is a great way to support me if you'd like to. Speaking of ETFs, if you're wondering whether an optimized ETF portfolio with higher historical returns is worth it over a single world ETF, you need to watch this video next. Please don't forget that none of what I mentioned was meant as investment advice. I'm just openly sharing my personal opinion based on my own experience as an investor. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and until next time.